Right when I was about to sit down and record a dinky little recap reacting to the Yankees trade with the Reds, the Yankees saved me all over again like they have been doing all offseason long. They're making trades left and right, signings left and right, but then a lot of fans are saying, Fuzzy, you're hyping up Cody Bellinger and Paul Goldschmidt in 2025. Get over yourself. They're not that good. But if you ask me, maybe I'm an eternal optimistic, the Juan Soto pivot has been really good. Cody Bellinger, Paul Goldschmidt, Devin Williams, and Max Fried in the span of a few weeks. That's good. We'll talk about that later on in the video because we do have to talk about that trade first and foremost. And before we do that, I have a small little story I want to talk about because it's about the luxury tax. A lot of poor teams are about to get a huge amount of money. So according to the reports, there was a record $311 million in luxury tax penalties. So again, Major League Baseball does not have a salary cap. They have a fake salary cap that if you go above this specific number, you get taxed on every dollar you go over that. And if you do that for a few years in a row, the taxes go up and up. So to break down what happens to that $311 million and essentially fees, $3.5 million goes to player benefits, $153.75 million is going to the MLBPA retirement fund. So we know that if you reach a certain amount of years, you get a pension. And finally, the rest of the money, the other $153.75 million goes to revenue sharing. And don't forget this, the low revenue teams, the poor teams, get the majority of revenue sharing. The Yankees and the Dodgers, they put in more money than they get out. They have to put in a lot of money because they get taxed because they're spending all this, but because they make so much, they're almost getting nothing in revenue sharing. This is to help out teams like the Guardians, the Rays, the Pirates, the A's. Of course, the A's, because they don't spend any money, they're going to get the most of this pot, about $70 million of that $153.75 million. So again, if you're bootlicking owners, they're getting a lot of free money just for not spending. So stop bootlicking. I get it. Maybe you're just misinformed, but owners can spend whenever they want. Let's just get that out the way. Time to talk about the Yankees and Reds trade. Before we talk about who the Yankees got, we'll go over who the Reds are getting in return for a couple different guys. Jose Trevino is going to the Reds, so we know that he's 32 years old, but a couple years ago, this dude was an all-star and a platinum glove winner back in 2022. Again, he was an all-star. Ever since that point, though, he's been decent defensively. We'll talk about his weaknesses in a moment, but he has a 70 OPS plus in the box since 2022. He just has not been able to replicate the success where he had 11 home runs and a 90 OPS plus in the same season that he won a platinum glove. Now, speaking of his defense, he's one of the best framers and blocking catchers in baseball. If you need a ball called a strike, you look for a guy like Jose Trevino or Austin Hedges. Same thing goes for blocking. Hedges and Trevino, they are elite at blocking and framing. Now, the one thing that Trevino does not do well, like he sucks at it, if you and I played catcher for the Reds and you had to compare arm strength between you and Jose Trevino, you might actually win. Now, I know that's probably being a little bit hyperbolic and probably disrespectful, but he is useless at throwing guys out. Just watch the Guardian series. Whenever Jose Trevino was catching, they were on the move, and because of that, he almost didn't get any starts. Austin Wells essentially stole his job because, one, he's the better offensive player. He's not the framer or the blocker, but he throws out guys at a higher clip. Jose Trevino, he's a backup for Tyler Stevenson. He's going to really help out the young staff with Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott. You have Rhett Lauder, other guys like Brady Singer, Nick Martinez, Nick Lodolo, who've been around. Having a great framer as a backup catcher who can hit you 10 home runs if he does bounce back, that's a really solid backup option. And I guess if you remember that Tyler Stevenson, their main catcher, has had ups and downs in terms of staying healthy and regressing. He was insane in 2024. I feel like he's going to be just as good in 2025, but Jose Trevino as a backup guy, pretty solid option. The Yankees also got a catcher in this trade, but I'm going to talk about it for 5 seconds. They get the Christmas baby, Alex Jackson. He's going to be 29 years old this Christmas. He's one of the worst hitters we've ever seen. He has a career 27 OPS plus. That is not a lie. Like 207, not 207 or any. 27 OPS plus. He's a decent framer at best. That's all I got for you guys in terms of their first guy that they got. Talking about the Yankees. Their big fish of the trade is 34-year-old. I did not realize that Fernando Cruz was 34 years old, but he is a prolific strikeout machine. He has a career 14 strikeouts per nine, and that's because he maybe has the best splitter we've ever seen. Again, that might be a little bit dramatic, but last year, check this out. He held opponents to a 116 batting average against that splitter, and he threw almost 50% of the time, and he had a 60% whiff rate. What is a whiff? A whiff is when the hitter swings at a pitch that is a strike. So he had a 60% whiff rate on the splitter, which means that he can just throw it to you. It's going to move out the way, and you're not going to hit it. A 60% whiff rate for one single pitch is insane. That's why opposing hitters only had a 116 batting average against. So the Yankees are trying to put Fernando Cruz in the Matt Blake laboratory, see if they can fix him like they did with Luke Weaver. And if that does happen, Fernando Cruz to Luke Weaver to Devin Williams is going to be one of the more devastating 1 through 3 trios of any bullpen in the game of baseball. I really like what they've done lately. I'm going to throw the Cardinals hat on real quick because our next story is going to segue into Paul Goldschmidt going to the Yankees. But staying with the Cardinals, the Yankees tried to get Nolan Arenado a few days ago. According to reports, who did they offer? Marcus Stroman. And the Cardinals, they pretty much laughed at that and said, yeah, we want more than Marcus Stroman if we're going to give you Nolan Arenado. Now, the money, it's not similar. It is up there because Marcus Stroman is getting about $18.5 million for the next 2 seasons. Arenado, he makes 32, which is a lot for 2025, then 27. Again, a lot if he's not going to pick up the pace in the batter's box. And then $15 million in 3 seasons when he's 36 years old. So in a couple years, it won't be that bad. But for right now, the Cardinals are saying, no, we need more. And one more thing as well, Nolan Arenado has a no trade clause, and rumors were saying that he wasn't going to accept it, but that could very well change now. That his buddy Paul Goldschmidt is now a Yankee. He's on the evil empire. Because Paul Goldschmidt is one of my favorite players in baseball, I'm going to play a little bit of narrative ball and hype him up before we talk about the full context of his past season because he wasn't great for the entire year. Like, we got to talk about that. But the Yankees are taking a flyer on an MVP for $12.5 million. So the fact that they picked up Devin Williams, Max Fried on the pitching side of things, and Paul Goldschmidt and Cody Bellinger on the offensive side of things, to me, that's a pretty good pivot. And now they can say that they are the only team in baseball other than the Dodgers to have 4 MVPs on one squad. The Dodgers have Kershaw, Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman. The Yankees now have Stanton, Judge, Bellinger, and Paul Goldschmidt. So they're competing on every level. Now, again, let's play some narrative ball when it comes to the 2022 MVP and the future Hall of Famer, Paul Goldschmidt. I'm already starting with the glazing. He was elite. I mean, elite squared in the final month of the season last year. In September, he hit .330 with a .920 OPS. That was over his final 30 games. He had an .800 OPS in the second half last year, which was actually higher than Gunnar Henderson and Bryce Harper. His exit velocities and hard hit percentage were some of the best of anyone in baseball. He was top 8% in hard hit percentage, which means that when he's healthy, he can still tear covers off of baseballs. He's 4 doubles away from 450 for his career. He has 362 career home runs with almost 170 stolen bases as a full-time first baseman. That is insane. He has a career 140 OPS plus. He's won 4 Gold Gloves, an MVP. He is a future Hall of Famer, 1,000%. But again, that's me playing narrative ball. The truth is, as much as I love Goldie, he's one of my favorite players of all time because he lets his bat do all the talking. I don't even know what he sounds like, really. I mean, obviously I do, but he rarely says anything. He reminds me a lot of Grady Sizemore. They just show up and play, and that's it. But Paul Goldschmidt was, I don't want to say useless, but he was pretty abysmal in the first half of 2024 to the tune of a .291 on-base percentage and a .664 OPS. Like, that's bad. That almost gets you cut on any other team not named the A's. He'll be 38 years old in September of next year, so he's going to play the majority of 2025 at 37 years old. And if you look at Carlos Santana, he just won his first ever Gold Glove, and he put up a 110 OPS plus at his age 37, 38-year-old season. So if Carlos Santana can do it, who has never been the player of Paul Goldschmidt, I'll take a flyer, $12.5 million for a future Hall of Famer, a former MVP in Goldie. Yeah, give me that. This could also mean that Nolan Arenado joins the Yankees and waives that no trade clause, which would allow Jazz Chisholm to go back to second base, and that would be an offseason in the books. Like, the Yankees would be done after that. Stroman's $19-ish million would go away, but then they would assume Arenado's $32, $27, and then $15 million over the next 3 years. But if that does happen, I don't know if they would go Jazz as the leadoff guy, or maybe Volpe. Maybe he earned it after the playoffs, because Volpe did hit .290 with a .410 on base and 5 stolen bases in the playoffs. That's really good. But if they don't do that, maybe they go Jazz, Judge, Bellinger, Stanton, Arenado, Wells, Goldie. I don't know if Goldie would be a 7-hitter, Volpe and Dominguez. That's a great lineup, especially if we're talking about 2017, 2018. That's one of the best Battle Royale lineups I've ever seen when it comes to MLB The Show. Listen, none of these guys are Juan Soto, but the pivot, it's been good. I'm not going to lie. I know a lot of people are going to say, Fuzzy, you're hyping up washed up players that should be retired. I don't think like you guys. I read the stats. I see the exit velocities are still there with Paul Goldschmidt. I see that Bellinger is a valuable defender and he has the short porch. Call it narrative ball, call it fanboying or glazing. I mean, I'm just giving you guys the truth. Are they as good as they were? No. But do they fit Yankee Stadium and the profile? Absolutely.
First of all, I would like to thank God for giving me that opportunity. I want to thank the Haas family, the Oakland organization, the city of Oakland, and all y'all beautiful fans for supporting me. I would like to thank my mom, my family, friend, and loved one for their support. Luke Brock was the symbol of great base stealing, but today I am the greatest of all time. Thank you.